Yo, what up, my ace bone coons? Guess what today is? Today is September 19th, 2025. And today's video is very, very special. Why? Because it is improv. Yes, sir. It's going to be a surprise. And today's video is going to start with this. Contractor goes viral after telling boss, I'm not an employee. This is hilarious. I love it. Being an independent contractor sucks for a lot of reasons, but it also affords you the unique ability to tell people to fuck off in delightful ways. Hi, Caleb. I was informed you weren't on the morning stand up call this morning. How come? Yeah, dude, I was asleep. I basically never joined those. Going forward, morning meetings are a requirement for employment at. I expect you to be on the next call tomorrow at 9 a.m. Man, that sucks for you guys, but I'm not an employee. My contract says nothing about required hours for daily meetings. You really need an attitude adjustment. If you aren't on the next call, you're fired. Your choice. You can fire me if you want, but you guys have to pay me through the 18th of next month, regardless. So I'm definitely sleeping in tomorrow. Enjoy your meeting. You guys really ought to read your contracts you have assigned. Sometimes pretty wild stuff in there. Please call me. No. Yes, sir. I love it. That's how we're going to set this off. The rest of the video is going to be on this and that. But next, this.
Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Now, who knows about these dudes? Are they human? Are they from this earth? Or did they get surgery to look better? Oh, Lord. Did someone tell them they look better? Guys, who lied to you? You were so handsome looking. Why'd you do that? Oh, Lord. They got their reasons. I'm not judging. But I mean, what do you guys think? They look better before or now? I thought they were aliens, like, or from another planet. Hello. All right, peep this. How many of y'all saw that Hellstorm missile hit the UAP? What does this tell you? The missile did not explode. What does that tell you? That it tells me the biologics of this unidentified being is not metallic. You would think a UFO, UAP is some sort of disc made of metal. But there was no explosion, and it broke it into pieces. Well, it broke itself into pieces, but those pieces didn't fall. Those pieces kept on flying behind it. Check it out. If you haven't seen it, it's fascinating.
Fire missile, he just bounces off it. Is that what we see?
That's right, yeah. That was shown at Congress on Tuesday by a House of Representative person. So what we're looking at there, there passing is the missile, but the object that's in the frame, and then this is afterwards. So they're the extraterrestrial spacecraft. There's the extraterrestrial spacecraft before it's hit. It's flying across, and then a Hellfire missile, their most powerful missile, hits it, just bounces off. They're absolutely in shock because that shouldn't happen.
And why did they fire a missile at it, though?
Well, I think it's disgusting they would fire a missile at an extraterrestrial spacecraft. It's not the first time they've tried to do that. It's completely failed.
Right.
And what sort of speed would you say that's doing?
There.
They weren't quite sure.
They got the 3 dots.
Thousands of miles an hour. It's unknown. They weren't quite sure of that fact. It was presented from an unknown source because so many whistleblowers are being damaged. They're being, talk about free speech. I mean, they're having their careers ruined. There are even talk of some of them having been killed. I'm talking about military personnel, Air Force personnel in America.
Right. Blimey. It's quite an extraordinary situation, isn't it? Because there's an awful lot of this in America. We don't see so much of it in this country, but there's an awful lot of interest, and there's been many congressional hearings about it, haven't there?
They have. This is the third one, and there are going to be more. They're campaigning for the declassification of this info. It should be information for us. It's not for... And the strange thing is, even the elected representatives, Democrat and Republican, they are being lied to, and they aren't able to get to the truth, and they're saying so. I think they're streets ahead, I will say, of this country and other countries in having these hearings.
Well, and when we've got Peter Mandelson as the UK ambassador to the United States of America, you can't really be that surprised that we haven't got any information on UFOs. He keeps it all quiet.
I think his interests are elsewhere.
Yeah, it's down the back of the sofa at Jeffrey Epstein's place, but there we are. Richard, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Very good to see you, Mike.
Richard Lawrence, we'll have you on for longer next time, author of UFOs and the Extraterrestrial Message. That's an extraordinary bit of footage, that, isn't it? It looks like it's going pretty quick. They hit it with a Hellfire missile, apparently, and nothing happens. This has been a very, very unusual show, so thank you.
Okay, you got to wonder why this next clip is not talked about enough. So this is NASA confirming they found life on Mars. Not allegedly, they are confirming, they are more than certain they found some new proof of life on Mars. I believe it. I think they live on every planet, like Venusians, Mars, the moon, probably so on and so on. Probably Jupiter, every other planet's got life on it. But here's a fascinating clip of NASA revealing this information. But here's the question. Why? Why now? I can tell you why. I am more than certain the next big false flag to make everyone think they need more government help is going to be the fake alien invasion. Mark my words. Yes, sir.
Friends, to pressure test it, to analyze it, and go, did we get this right? Do we think this is signs of ancient life on Mars? And after a year of review, they've come back and they said, listen, we can't find another explanation. So this very well could be the clearest sign of life that we've ever found on Mars.
Nate, I'm thinking they probably have some comments behind the scenes on this one.
There's no doubt about it. Listen, I'll quote Charlie Daggett. Me too, Charlie. This is terrifying, Tony.
I haven't seen an American missile bounce off an object on video since the movie Independence Day.
Right.
I mean, this is some weird stuff. And either it's an alien, not good, or some other country has an amazing new piece of flying machinery that is immune to missiles, also not good.
Yeah, somebody call Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum, because we're going to need some help.
Yeah.
Well, US space agency NASA says its Perseverance Mars rover has found potential signs of ancient life on the red planet. The agency has told journalists they found evidence of possible microbial activity in rock samples.
So it just kind of suggests that life on Mars could have lasted a lot longer and been a whole lot more recent than originally thought. Now, these samples were collected last year in July. NASA's Perseverance rover found a rock on Mars called Chiava Falls. It drilled a sample from it, and NASA thinks it could have clues to ancient life. The rock is made of clay and silt. This is great for preserving signs of microbes. There's our first clue. Now, the rover also found colorful mineral spots. These are called leopard spots. And those minerals, they're usually found on Earth, and they're often created by tiny life forms. Scientists say those spots can also form without life, but that usually means high heat or acidic conditions, and experts say that most likely didn't happen there.
Scientists immediately knew. It was interesting, we hadn't seen anything like that before on Mars. And so they've done the analysis on these leopard spots, and we think they are potentially made by some sort of ancient life. We look at everything we know about life on Earth, and this is the kind of signature that we would see that was made by something biological.
All right, our panel remains. Buzz Aldrin, the NASA astronaut, second man on the moon, remains. We're going to have him pick up in a moment his description of that thing flying across the sky as he heads toward the moon. Fife Symington now joins us, the former governor. Buzz, what did you see?
What did I see during the flight?
Yeah,
we saw one of the 4 panels, the 99.999. And these are 3 guys who have flown in space twice and have looked out at the stars and all sorts of things. So, belief, yes, we certainly saw something. We could see, look at it in a second. I know, it was one of the panels, yeah.
So that's
a lot of people have said things that I saw. That doesn't mean that I don't want to reveal the source of national television.
Someone very close to you told me that you had another sighting that you actually chased to.
In your years of flying, have you seen strange things?
I was flying a T-33, I guess, and I looked out and saw a star out there. But it wasn't a star, it was Venus. But it kept following me all along. And you would swear that it's another object out there, and you can turn and... I want to congratulate you on your magic show last night with all the illusions, because now we're getting a lot more illusions tonight. And can you explain both sides of this? I really do believe that you need to have very firm evidence, and cover-up is something that just doesn't exist for very long. Sooner or later, somebody's going to squeal on it, or and I just can't believe that that we would be covering up such a major, significant event as true evidence of beings from somewhere else.
Governor,
does it mean that some form of life could have been involved in forming these rock formations?
That's right. So the team that was examining this considered lots of different potential explanations for how these things could have formed, including things that don't involve life. Maybe one of the important things to know about this is some of the processes that we think were important in forming these without life typically take place at high temperatures. And using the best techniques that we could available to us on the rover, it doesn't look like these rocks ever experienced those kinds of temperatures. In contrast, on Earth, there are microorganisms that do those reactions regularly. And in fact, at the same time as these rocks were being deposited on Mars, there were organisms on Earth already doing this as well.
Which is incredibly exciting.
NASA says the sample was investigated by top scientists around the world for about a year, and so far they're backing the hypothesis. The rover found the rock in a massive crater that used to be full of water billions of years ago.
Jezero is also indisputably the site of an ancient lake.
NASA's next goal is to bring the sample back home. Scientists say it has to be tested on Earth to fully confirm its origin, but its journey home is still up in the air because of proposed Trump budget cuts to NASA.
There could be a better way to do this to get these samples back. And I again, just to continue with missions that I don't think can meet budgets and timing, I think would be foolish on my part.
The rover collected what it needed from the crater and will continue looking for life on Mars.
Yeah, and this is just one out of 27 other rock samples that NASA's Perseverance rover collected. And so scientists say each sample suggests maybe some more clues about life on the red planet. From NASA's Johnson Space Center, Sarah Legray, Fox 32 Chicago.
The newly released video captured by a U.S. Reaper drone shows a glowing orb off the coast of Yemen. Suddenly, on the left side of your screen, you see a Hellfire missile zip in, strike that unidentified object, then bounce right off it. When we slow the video down, you see the Hellfire missile continue to travel on its path, that trajectory becoming clearer from this zoomed out angle. Not shown is a second Reaper drone that launched the missile. Congressman Eric Burleson shared the video at a House Oversight Committee on what the military calls unidentified aerial phenomena, better known as UFOs.
That's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
We've never seen a Hellfire missile hit a target and bounce off.
Lou Elizondo is a former senior intelligence officer with the Pentagon.
When a Hellfire makes a hit, a kinetic strike on something solid, there's usually not much left of whatever it is it's hitting. It's very, very destructive. What seems to happen is that the missile is either redirected or in some case perhaps glances off the object and continues on its way.
A recent government report revealed the government received more than 750 new UAP sightings in the 2024 fiscal year, leaving lawmakers digging into the mystery and national security concerns posed by these objects.
Does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes. Yes.
Me too. There's a lot of information that's not in that video, like what mission they were on, and as they said, what are we even looking at here? We do know that the U.S. military was conducting airstrikes against Houthi targets at the time. Pentagon officials tell CBS News, no comment.
Now, is there ever going to be the chance to bring some of these samples back to Earth to look at them closely here?
I genuinely hope so. I think getting this sample back could answer some of the biggest questions that we have about life and its place in the universe.
Habitation on the moon. We can visit other people with their habitation. We can keep track. If there's something very important to be developed from the moon, I'm not sure what it is right now. And I sure think we should identify what it is for America to make such gross expenditures again for human habitation on the moon. We can help. We can join with. Together, we can explore the moon and develop the moon. We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there? Well, the universe put it there. If you choose, God put it there.
What did you say, Buzz? Can you say that again, sir? Did y'all hear that? Buzz Aldrin's been trying to tell the truth for a while, but they're making him look crazy. Crazy, I tell you. Remember that time he told the little girl, "We never went to the moon, sweetheart." Jason A., thank you for the wonderful videos. My man is a G. He is an amazing clip editor. He puts all the greatest clips together. One of my favorite YouTubers. Shout out to Jason A. Colombia, my motherland. Check it out. What is going on? How many of y'all heard of that spear they found in Colombia? And it's not the first one they find either. This has happened several times. Let me show y'all.
I think it's fascinating. I think that, so what I think is that we are entering, let me just frame this from a bigger picture, because this is a small part of a bigger picture, right?
Right.
So we are entering a time when we are starting as humans to recognize we don't have the control that we thought we had over everything. I mean, I think humans got into this not very humble, sort of grandiose place where we were like, yeah, we got it all under control. We can make anything happen. We can do all the things. And I think what we are learning, I mean, my background's in cognitive neuroscience. I think a lot about how human beings think and the sort of mistakes we make. And one of the mistakes we can make is, because I think I understand this, everything I think today is true. My model of the world is true. And it ends up making us get very confused when something shows up that doesn't fit our model of the world. And so we already know the federal government has said, frankly, we've been looking at UAPs for decades. We haven't been telling you. Now we're telling you. There are things that we don't understand. We are investigating them. And there's lots of organizations like the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, the UAP Disclosure Fund, the Galileo Project, that are made of people, all political persuasions, all scientific knowledge persuasions, trying to get rigorous information themselves, not necessarily waiting on the federal government, about what's going on in our skies, what's going on in our waters, and actually trying to get international cooperation around these things. Because, like this, for instance, the sphere in Colombia, it's in a different country. So what are the rules about how we deal with something that's interesting that's found there? Having said all that, the sphere itself
That was a good question.
kind of like an art project of a human.
There's certainly something going to happen in 2027, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I've also heard 2034, and I've also heard other dates, much later. But depends who you talk to. Some people say it's a pole reversal. Some people say it's an asteroid hitting the planet. Some people say it's AI reaching quantum, and then all of a sudden we lose the capacity to have control of our own computer systems. I have no idea. What I am aware of is that everybody's telling me we're on borrowed time. And I cannot begin to emphasize how serious a look I get when I say to people who are confiding in me, what's the timescale on this? And they're urging me to be urgent. They're saying to me, people need the right to know this. They have a right to know this. And I'm going, well, what are we talking about? And I feel like shaking these people and saying, for God's sake, just bloody tell me. And they are all constrained by their national security oaths. They want the public to know this.
Welcome back, everyone. You've probably seen some of the mysterious...
To know what? What was he talking about? So there's a major event coming by 2027, they say, but he just said he's heard different dates, 2034. But that is what I'm talking about. It's a major event. Dude, you cannot tell us something is coming unless you're planning it. You know what I mean? It's a false flag. And it's been done over and over again. What was the latest and the greatest big one we've had? 9/11. Can't tell me no different. By the way, I heard Tucker Carlson put out a new docu-series on 9/11 and all the conspiracies. I heard it's really, really good. Check it out. Tucker Carlson's 9/11 information docu-series. Check it out.
Videos, unidentified objects appearing to zoom through the sky, defying physics. We're talking, of course, about UFOs, or as the government calls them, unidentified anomalous phenomena. President Trump took office vowing radical transparency across the board, and that has UFO investigators hoping the government will be more forthcoming about any secret information related to potential non-human intelligence and advanced threats. So what do we know right now, and are we any closer to solving hundreds of cases that have captivated public interest and fueled conspiracy theories for years? In tonight's Prime Focus, our Devin Dwyer took those questions to the Pentagon's top UFO investigator.
How will you know when you're looking at something that could be extraterrestrial life or non-human intelligence?
I think it's going to require a lot more than the blurry videos that I have right now.
The videos have fueled our fascination.
It's a potential problem, a national security problem, a safety of flight issue.
Potential non-human intelligence.
Perhaps.
John Kozlowski is the top U.S. official tasked with investigating UAPs.
You've been solving problems for years in your career. Are these some of the toughest problems you've had to tackle as a scientist?
They are.
Kozlowski leads the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, created by Congress 3 years ago to detect, identify, and attribute mysterious objects of interest in the air, in outer space, and even underwater. Now the office answers to President Trump.
How much of a priority is this work for President Trump and Secretary Hegseth?
No new directives, but lots of support. We seem to have the full support of the administration.
Would you ever open up Roswell and let us know what's really going on there?
So many people ask me that question.
The commander-in-chief has been a UFO skeptic.
It's never been my thing, I have to be honest. I have never been a believer.
But Trump has also hinted that the government may know more than it's letting on.
I won't talk to you about what I know about it, but it's very interesting. But Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
The president is now vowing unprecedented transparency in his second term, giving UFO enthusiasts across the political spectrum hope for fresh answers about those mysteries. Kozlowski has accelerated the release of intensive investigations, a team of several dozen experts poring over video clips, radar data, eyewitness accounts, and deploying mathematical analyses to determine the most likely explanation for each UAP.
Obviously, that is an interesting anomaly.
One of the most recent resolutions, this object spotted by a U.S. military drone, seeming to fly through the hot exploding ash of Mount Etna as it erupted in 2018. No known technology is capable of flying in those conditions.
And what is it, do we think?
It looks like it's probably a 1-foot wide balloon. Yeah, floating with the wind. Yep.
Like a birthday balloon.
Yeah, could be.
This object, racing across Puerto Rico in 2013, mesmerized investigators for years. Watch as it appears to split into two, then dip into the water before disappearing out of sight.
With very careful analysis of the metadata, taking into account where the camera was pointing, we were able to assess.
That one in Puerto Rico split into two, he said, just like the one from a year ago that got hit by the Hellstorm missile. It split into 3, 4.
That this is actually an object that is flying just a few hundred feet above the ground and is maintaining a flight path consistent with the wind over the airport the whole time.
So it doesn't actually dip into the water, it's a mirage.
Exactly, yep. It's just an artifact of the sensor.
Most of the cases are readily explainable, Kozlowski says. Large birds, balloons, debris, or drones.
Is your goal to resolve every case that comes in?
So our hope is to be able to triage them, identify those that have the best scientific data, the nexus with national security interests, and the true anomalies behind them, and focus our attention on those really anomalous cases.
How many ballpark are in that category right now?
It's several dozen, but it's a couple percent of the overall.
One unexplained anomaly is the so-called Tic Tac incident of 2004.
Really no idea what that might be.
Navy F-18 pilot David Fravor spotted the object off the California coast, seeming to move at impossible speeds. He spoke with ABC News in 2017.
We're in a clockwise flow, going from 12 to 3, and it starts going from 6 to 9. And it's coming up, and we're going down. We start to cut across, it rapidly accelerates, climbs past our altitude, and disappears. That's the last we saw of it.
Any progress?
Not much. There's not a lot of scientific data available.
Is there a procedure for making it public if you think you've actually found it? Non-human intelligence?
So there's no precedence for that, obviously, but I think that we would take that up through the Secretary of Defense and allow him to make that decision.
Critics of the Pentagon effort say it has been hobbled by staffing shortfalls, bogged down by bureaucratic confusion, and mired in excessive secrecy. Whistleblowers testifying before Congress have claimed the government is still hiding evidence of non-human intelligence.
I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
Lawmakers from both parties have proposed legislation.
Mr. Grush, that last guy that was speaking, knows a whole lot. Or he's a cover-up, psyops, one or the other, but he has got a world full of information on these things. All right, this next one is going to explain the agendas of the false flags. First, it was communism. They put fear in people about communism. Here in the US and worldwide, it happens as well in other countries. But first communism, then terrorism, then a global catastrophe, meaning asteroids, weather, and then the final card is a fake alien invasion. This has been planned, y'all. I'm telling you, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. Trust me, believe me. The next major false flag will be a fake alien invasion. Mark my words.
What if the idea of an alien invasion wasn't just Hollywood fantasy, but a plan outlined decades ago by the architects of our age, intended to unite the world through fear? And what if the surge in UFO headlines is setting the stage for the final card? Let's quietly connect the warnings, the speeches, and the patterns unfolding in front of us. Wernher von Braun, rocket pioneer, and one of the minds behind humanity's reach for the stars, brought with him to America a dire prediction. According to his close colleague, Dr. Carol Rosen, he warned that the militarization of space would be driven not by real enemies, but by manufactured threats. First communism, then terrorism, then rogue nations, asteroids, and at last, the ultimate unifying threat, an alien invasion. Von Braun called it the last card. He claimed it would be used not for cosmic defense, but for earthly control. Years later, standing before the United Nations in 1987, President Ronald Reagan mused, "I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world."
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
He repeated this on other occasions, even to the Soviet leader behind closed doors. These were not tossed-off remarks. This rhetoric landed during an era devoted to space-based defense, the so-called Star Wars program. Was this predictive, or a subtle rehearsal for a scenario we're meant to take seriously? Today, the news cycle is full of UAPs, unidentified phenomena filmed by military observers and discussed at congressional hearings. Is this true transparency, or are we being psychologically prepared? Is this predictive programming, guiding the public to accept a new global narrative? Or are we seeing the last card laid on the table, just as von Braun warned?
All of the
History
above.
shows us that fear unites, but also controls. Are we being prepared for unity or dominance? Who benefits if we're convinced to look skyward instead of asking hard questions here on Earth? Pause. Question. Think for yourself. If you found value in this perspective, remember to like, subscribe.
Yo, look at this video. It's over a decade. I think it might be 2 decades old, but this has been planned for even more than 2 decades. This is like, it's been planned for like 100 years, maybe. Tucker Carlson, all right, like 20 years ago. Check it out. Even he knows, bro.
A former Canadian government official is warning we may be on the verge of intergalactic war, saying, quote, "The Bush administration has finally agreed to let the military build a forward base on the moon, which will put them in a better position to keep track of the comings and goings of visitors from space, and to shoot at them if they so decide."
I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun, in the U.S. the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space, because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat."
Pardon me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but doesn't this makes sense. I mean, if in fact there are extraterrestrials and they're buzzing our planet, why wouldn't we want to take steps to defend ourselves from them should they turn hostile?
As a military strategist, as a person who worked on the MX missile, which I did later, he said you will find that there is going to be a spin to find some enemy against whom we have to build space-based weapons. And now we should expect the spin, because he said part of the formula for the intelligence community is if they might have a weapon, then we have to consider that they do have these weapons. So now they do have these weapons, so now we have to build these weapon systems. And that's the formula, except that it's all based on a lie.
This is a report into future technology, commissioned in 1968 by McDonnell Douglas, then one of the biggest aerospace and defense contractors in the world. What's extraordinary about this document is that it takes the existence of UFOs seriously. It recommends using UFOs and copying their design to make the next quantum leap in aerospace technology.
Some UFOs may be extraterrestrial vehicles. They certainly have not been proven otherwise. The existence of extraterrestrial vehicles indicates vehicles could be built which would have capabilities quite useful to McDonnell Douglas Corporation.
A supersonic saucer. Called the Silverbug, it was truly revolutionary. The plans show in detail a multi-jet engine craft that boasted amazing maneuverability and speed. It's an intriguing thought that this concept may tie in with the work of the German scientists who brought saucer technology to the US at the close of the Second World War. I believe Silverbug could explain what Lonnie Zamora witnessed in the New Mexico desert in April 1964. His description of a silver disc-shaped object appears to fit in with the Silverbug profile.
What was needed were certain cover stories. What do you do when people are spotting aircraft and then telling reporters that they've seen something very unusual flying out of an airbase in Nevada? And frankly, this was the origin of a lot of the sightings that took place in the mid-50s, 1954, 55, 56, of unidentified flying objects, the UFOs. So the CIA was involved in encouraging people to believe that, yes, they saw UFOs, and the CIA and the military tried to be very helpful to reporters to get these stories out, to divert the attention of the country, and particularly the people in this region, about what they had actually seen.
Mexican Air Force pilots capturing on videotape what are said to be 11, count them, 11 UFOs.
The Mexican Air Force has released a video that some of you are going to find difficult to believe. A journalist says it shows images of UFOs tracking a Mexican military plane.
So what's the truth about UFOs? The story of successive attempts to develop radically new forms of flight, conducted under the strictest secrecy, is inextricably bound up with our relationship with UFOs over the last 60 years. Whether it's Allied pilots buzzed by strange balls of fire in 1942, or the Roswell incident 5 years later, there is a strong case to be made that secret military technology offers a convincing explanation for many UFO stories. For me, what is so striking about Roswell is that it's the first good example of an officially sanctioned UFO disinformation exercise. It showed the CIA that UFOs could provide perfect cover for their Cold War activities. It didn't take much for the CIA to spin the extraterrestrial story into the hearts and minds of the American public. And once it was there, all manner of experimental technology could, if it was spotted, be put down to the UFO phenomenon. But there are some cases that I just can't explain. The sightings of UFOs over Capitol Hill in 1952 are still baffling. What is certain is that real-world UFOs, the man-made ones, continue to develop. Recently, a series of sonic booms were heard exploding across California and Nevada. Something was in the sky that could be heard and felt, but not seen. Some informed observers, and I'm one of them, believe it was an aircraft traveling at several thousand miles per hour, a secret project known as Aurora. There is no trace of Aurora's physical existence, no evidence of government spending on its development or deployment. But there are tantalizing images that point to its existence. Pictures, for example, like this one. It shows a donut-shaped exhaust pattern, a sign perhaps that Aurora makes use of something called a pulse detonation wave engine. And it delivers a hell of a punch, easily enough power to drive an aircraft to 6 times the speed of sound. But perhaps the most intriguing are these images. This is a weather satellite image that shows a very interesting contrail originating out of Area 51 in Nevada and moving all the way across the United States, out over the Atlantic, on across Europe, and into Russia and China. Whatever it is, it's moving in excess of 8,000 miles an hour. If it is the contrail of a high-altitude hypersonic aircraft, in my book it's the best evidence yet that Aurora is real.
Anytime the government has secrets that they can keep from us, they can manipulate us by those secrets. In essence, they still remain 25 years at least ahead of us in technology, information, and knowledge, and secrets, and they are using them against us.
It's way more than 25 years ahead of us. I'm guessing like 400 years. Shit.
I heard over the years many times over that the plan to usher in the New World Order would be to make all the people in this country and around the world feel totally helpless to prevent the New World Order from occurring, this world dominance plan, by saying that we had been invaded by aliens, so that we would say, oh, please, UN, come in and help us all. So bear in mind that there is a planned orchestration to get people to be submissive through the secret technology and information that they're keeping from you under the blanket of the so-called National Security Act that's threatening the security of our nation.
Under the guise and threat of a national security threat. Doesn't that sound like 9/11? Remember, the Patriot Act was slipped right under our noses, and now they sell our data because of it. Now they can tap into your phone calls, and that all happened right after 9/11. Look it up, the Patriot Act. I mean, there's more to it, but under the guise of terrorism, one of the major false flags in their agenda. Remember, it's communism, then terrorism, then a global disaster by asteroids, meteors, and then the big one, a fake alien invasion to slip in another law right under your nose and take more of your freedoms, and you know.
You're being programmed since the second you're born in front of a television set, movies and everything else to get totally different. So all you're doing is being programmed to stay in the physical dimension. I mean, the final conflict that these guys have to set up in motion, when we get through reducing the world's population, then they're going to have this organized group. I mean, the New World Order is a socialist dictatorship, just so you know. And what happens is that they're going to supposedly get the army to fight the common enemy from space, and that's the ETs.
Yes.
And that's what the final conflict's going to be all about. I mean, you go right down by some of the movies that way. Wake up, guys. You're in a huge play. You know, it's like William Shakespeare said, the whole world's the stage, and we're just the players on this thing, which is actually correct.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
That was a banger. That was perfectly put. I hope you got to understand it. I hope you understand what's being planned. And I'm not very gullible or naive. I don't believe everything I hear, but when you start seeing it played out and hearing it like decades ago, because I'm 46. I heard this when I was what, 18, 17. I started hearing this conspiracy about a fake alien invasion and the war of worlds, or war of worlds, world. You know the Tom Cruise movie. It was actually a book. It was actually a radio show, and then our government said, "Hey, that's actually a good idea. Let's keep that on the back burner and use it later." Yeah. Here's the explanation of the War of the Worlds.
For one whole day in 1938, Americans believed aliens were invading. A national radio show famous for their theatrical presentations adapted the popular book, The War of the Worlds, to make it sound like real events were actually taking place in New Jersey. For regular listeners or those who tuned in from the very beginning, they knew it was fake. But for the people who tuned in late, a lot of them thought it was real and the panic set in. It's hard to gauge how much panic there truly was because apparently the next day the media latched onto the story and then blew it out of proportion, which is completely out of character for them. So the main takeaways I think are read books, beware of media sensationalism, and don't be surprised when aliens are real. For one whole day.
All right. All right. Thank you for hanging out with me. We are wrapping this up. Last couple of videos. This one here on Lucifer and the translation of it. And then the next one is something relatable to what we've been watching and to this video. And it is the Vatican is considering revealing all of their UFO history and writings. And they say the Vatican has information knew about UFOs and UAPs prior to Roswell. So the Vatican is about to translate all their scriptures that they have in their library into digital form. How many of y'all have heard that? You will see that in just a second. But first, this.
Gabriel L., who is Lucifer.
Did you know this about Lucifer?
Lucifer is actually not his name. Lucifer is a translation of his name. Because all the angels have L in their name. They have God. Mike L., Gabriel L., who is Lucifer. Lucifer is a translation. If you check the Hebrew, his name is Hallel, which Aramaic is halal. It means crescent moon. What's on most of your food products today? Halal. Whatever this spirit is going to own the food chain.
You won't be able to buy or sell.
And none of you are going to be able to buy or sell unless you got the mark.
Unless you bear the mark.
The name or the number of the beast.
Microchips implanted in your hand.
Will you be paying with your palm today?
I've just been chipped myself.
It's the mark of the beast. Did you know?
Shortly after the death of Pope Francis, we reported on the prospect that a new pope might just let a few rays of sunshine into that vast and heavily guarded treasure trove, and maybe let a few secrets out. Specifically, what the Vatican knows about extraterrestrial visitors and how the Vatican knows it. It turns out Pope Leo XIV has a spiritual connection to the Vatican's long history of astronomical research, and a personal connection to a land where mysterious phenomena aren't confined to the heavens. They are literally carved into the ground. I'm going to dig into all of this, chapter and verse, in this jam-packed hour-long special on the connection between the Vatican and whatever truth may be out there. So let's get started. I sure didn't think when I got up today that I'd be covering a European election. But how often do just 133 men, just men, pick a leader for 1.4 billion people of all genders and races and cultures around the world? We officially have a new pope, and if you had Cardinal Bob from Chicago in your office pool, congrats. Until about 9 hours ago, an American pope seemed about as likely as a female pope.
But now, as you may have heard, Cardinal Robert Prevost, holder of both U.S. and Peruvian citizenship, has become Pope Leo XIV. And that name is a very big reason we are taking our true crime hats off tonight and putting on our mystery hats, or shall I say our mystery miters. Okay, a lot has been made already about why the successor of Peter and the immediate successor of Francis took the name Leo. The last Pope Leo ruled for 25 years at the end of the 19th century. He's known as the social justice Pope, using the ultimate pulpit to speak up for workers' rights and economic fairness. In fact, the Vatican has now confirmed the new Pope picked his new name for that very reason. But you know what else Pope Leo XIII did? He established the Vatican Observatory, cementing the Church's long-standing fascination with the heavens. Not just heaven, either. Even now, the Vatican operates a state-of-the-art telescope system on the outskirts of Rome and Mount Graham in Arizona. Vatican astronomers collaborate with astronomers in leading institutions worldwide. Their findings, their methods, and their research, like all Vatican records, are preserved for the ages, you guessed it, in the Vatican archives. And they could help answer an ancient debate. Whether centuries-old sightings of angels and other heavenly beings were actually extraterrestrials, non-human visitors from somewhere else in the universe, you know, like the Tic Tacs that we've been seeing lately. Aliens or angels or anything you call them all, that's captivated UFO researchers and conspiracy theorists since the last Pope Leo wore that hat. And when Francis died, many hoped that the transition would bring about an opening of the archive doors. Pope Francis, by the way, just last fall authorized an expansion of the Vatican archives and library, which already comprise 50 miles of shelving. And since this is the 21st century, archivists are scrambling to digitize everything that's down there. The books, the files, even the parchment papers. The hunt for proof of alien life in the Vatican files picked up steam in 2023 when a former U.S. intelligence official named David Grush told Congress that the Vatican had been involved in a cover-up. David Grush later provided more details to News Nation's Ross Coulthart, and here is some of their conversation.
So let's start from the very beginning. You say it's a 90-year cover-up.
Just about, yeah.
90 years?
1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle.
It's long been known that the regime of dictator Benito Mussolini documented numerous UAP during this time. This internal memo from the Italian secret services includes crude drawings of the UAPs.
It's true, it's real.
Yeah, that actually happened. Italian government moved it to a secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until 1944, 1945, and you know the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
A spokesperson for the archives told the Catholic News Service, and I quote, "I don't know where this Grush got the information. One can laugh at it," end quote. But is it laughable to think that the Vatican holds secret information on the existence of alien life forms? For more on that, I'm joined by the perfect guest tonight. Danny Sheehan is an attorney and former general counsel to the U.S. Jesuit headquarters in Washington. In the 1970s, he was tapped by President Carter to contact the Vatican about what they knew about UFOs. He's also the founder of the New Paradigm Institute, which informs the public about UFO phenomena. And next week, he'll be in Washington for a hearing with the chair of the task force on the declassification of federal secrets. Danny Sheehan, thank you for joining me. You are the perfect guest tonight in this nexus of the news and then the mystery that this show has been covering, and that is the mystery of UAPs and unidentified flying objects. Why, first of all, take me back. Why did President Carter want to reach out to the Vatican?
Well, President Carter, when he was governor of Georgia, actually saw a UFO. Not something distant in the sky like a twinkling star, but the length of a football field away. He was at a Lions Club meeting when he was governor, and he and 11 other people saw a UFO craft a football field distance away. So as soon as he was elected president, one of the very first things he did was send for the head of the Central Intelligence Agency and ask him to come to Plains, Georgia, and brief the president-elect on the UFO issue. It turns out that CIA agent, that CIA director at that time was George H.W. Bush, appointed by Gerald Ford when he took over after Nixon resigned. And the fact is, George H.W. Bush refused to brief the president, saying that the president had no need to know, and therefore he wasn't going to give him the information. So because of that, what President Carter did was he contacted the head of the Science and Technology Committee of the House of Representatives and asked them to set up a Congressional Research Service investigation of all of the documents and evidence that was in the possession of our government about the UFO phenomenon and any extraterrestrial life form that might be responsible for them. And that was who contacted me at the Jesuit headquarters to have me contact the Vatican to get whatever information the Vatican had about the UFO phenomenon and about extraterrestrial life so we could provide that to the president. So I got authority from the Jesuit order that was my base at that time in the headquarters to send the letter to the Vatican and ask for those files.
That was very rude of George Bush, wasn't it? To tell Carter, you have no right, or he said it kind of rude. He said, don't worry about it. So, something along those lines. But anyway, the Bushes seem to be some very fucking arrogant and rude presidents, not to mention false flag starters.
Well, here we are a half century later, and we have a new pope who seems to have this sort of slight connection, at least to the scientific heavens anyway. And I'm wondering if you think it's going to make any difference. Do you think that this new pope will actually
Probably
help
not.
UFO enthusiasts and
Shout out
others
News
gain
Nation, though.
access to whatever secrets lie beneath the Vatican?
Very balanced news.
I do believe so, yes. I believe that he has a history, as did Leo the 13th, that preceded him, actually in trying to establish the relationship between the cutting edge of science and the most profound fundamental theological concepts of a metaphysical dimension that is not accessible by most people. That's the key to this man. He is a person who wants to bring together science and theology to be able to bring the Catholic Church into the 21st century, so we can begin to adjust the institutions of our planet to cope with the reality that there's an extraterrestrial, non-human civilization that surrounds us, and the fact that they've been coming and going from our planet at least since the detonation of the first nuclear explosion in 1945. So I think that he is going to be the disclosure pope in the same way that we are going to have a disclosure of what the American government knows about this in the next handful of years.
I hope so.
Boy, you got me there. That's something that a lot of people have, obviously journalists, but a lot of people have been waiting for, and I hope you're right. But I do have this question. Should the Vatican be concerned about any kinds of revelations or truth about aliens? Doesn't it contradict the teachings of the church if there are really aliens out there?
Very good question. Will the disclosure of aliens and UFOs contradict what the Vatican is teaching, religion? Very, very good question. Let's see what the answer is. I don't think so. Me personally, I don't think so. I just think it's words that could get confused. And I also believe that there's stuff in the Bible that was left out that aliens and flying objects included. I mean, what do you think chariots when Elijah saw chariots coming down from the sky or whatever. It's just words, you know. I don't think it'll contradict anything. I don't think people will stop being believers, and so I don't think so.
Well, what it does is it's different than the earliest first and second century theology that was developed by the church at a point in time when 99.9% of all the people on the planet were completely illiterate and didn't travel more than 50 miles from the place where they were born. So the formulation of these esoteric insights that the church has about the nature of human consciousness, our capabilities to engage in telepathic communication, the communion of the saints, if you will, life everlasting, which has to do with potential reincarnation, the ability to levitate, for example, like some monks in the Catholic monasteries are capable of doing, like Jesus walked on water, the ability to transmute matter from, for example, water into wine. These are capabilities that deal with the kind of deepest scientific secrets about the relationship of human consciousness and the subatomic nature of reality. This is what's in the process of coming forward, and that's why many of the institutions of power on the planet right now are so reluctant to open up that box. But the church has a fundamental responsibility to be the ushers in of a perception of our relationship to the universe and our human consciousness to the
Of truth.
evolution of our species. So I believe that the church is going to play a major role in doing this, and they've issued a statement back in November of 2009 stating that in light of the fact that we've now got these new spaceborne telescopes and they're discovering more and more of these new exoplanets, it's now clear, as they said, that much sooner than we had previously anticipated, we're going to discover that life exists elsewhere in the universe. And therefore, the time has arrived for the beginning of that all-important conversation about the profound philosophical and theological questions that are posed to our human family by the discovery of life elsewhere in the universe. That's the moment that we have reached now, and this will be the Pope who governs the largest single denomination on our planet of 1.4 billion people to usher in this larger reality and integrate it with our sense of ourselves in the universe.
Danny, the one thing that I learned that was so surprising to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that the archives don't belong to the Vatican. They belong to the Pope. And so he is one person who can wave a magic wand and open that incredible labyrinth of information. But I also understand that there are politics that play out in the Vatican. It's just like any other organization. Could he be hamstrung by politics in the Vatican? Can he really just wave a wand and make it happen?
Well, we'll see. This really has to do with the kind
This
of
is news
dissolution of
reporting.
power that's within the College of
Good
Cardinals
question.
and within the Vatican structures themselves. Just like any president coming into office and discovering that there are different agencies and different protocols that are operational that the chief executive has to respect in order to get anything done. That Pope Leo the 14th is going to discover that he has to navigate the power structures. He's going to have to become intimately familiar with them, but he has spent
God
a
bless him
substantial amount of time in the Vatican.
with the
He's
heart
quite
to
familiar
tell
with
the
some of
truth.
those power dynamics. And I believe that he's going to try to lead the entire human family, not just the 1.4 billion Catholics, but the entire human family into a better understanding of our place in the universe and the relationship that our human species is going to play in relationship to the entire non-human civilization that surrounds us outside of our solar system. This is an extraordinary period of history that we're living through. The people that are listening to this program are going to be alive when this disclosure is made, not
Wow.
only by the United States government, but by the Vatican and by the leaders of the Jewish faith. And the Hebrew, the Hindu faith, the Buddhist faith, all of the leaders of these major denominations on our planet know that our human family has much greater capabilities than we've been allowed to know about, and they know a lot more about the existence of this extraterrestrial civilization than they have yet publicly revealed. This is what's getting ready to happen in the next 5 to 6 years.
Wow.
You know, David Grush, as the whistleblower testifying before Congress, talked about a cover-up, that the U.S. government has been involved in a decades-long cover-up. The exact language was akin to it's an alien aircraft, crashed aircraft recovery program that collects, stores, and re-engineers what they find, and that they are non-human dead pilots. All I have to say to that is that it is fascinating. I don't think it's impossible, but it sure is difficult to have upwards of 10 administrations since Carter all keep these secrets.
She's
and
good.
Only David Grush is the one whistleblower who's come out and said something. And that's usually the story about a vast conspiracy. The more vast it gets, the more hard it is to contain. So why would something this explosive be so perfectly contained for so very, very long?
I love her.
Well, actually, there are over 40 top secret classified experts from deep inside the federal government and various agencies who have already come forward and testified in secret behind closed doors to the Senate Intelligence Committee. So it's not just David Grush that is confirming this. There are all kinds of people, including Jay Stratton, who was the head of the Advanced Weapons Special Access Program inside the Pentagon, who has been in charge of trying to develop a weapon system out of the technology that's being recovered from these craft, so that our government can establish full spectrum military dominance over the planet. So this is something that has to be addressed. This is not a legitimate objective of our national security to engage in that. And we have to be able to reach out and establish treaties with the other nation states, including Russia and China, in India and other major players, in all the NATO countries, to establish a treaty whereby we will all agree not to use any of this technology recovered from these craft for a weapon system. This is a critical thing that needs to be done. That's why our New Paradigm Institute in Washington, D.C. is dedicated not only to securing full disclosure of what our government knows about it, but also helping to formulate a new paradigm post-contact worldview, so that we can understand the value of our human family in the hierarchy of beings in the universe, so that we don't consider ourselves like some primitive tribe that gets discovered, in 1955, that there's a world outside of their island, so that their entire civilization collapsed, be that as it was. We have to start taking concrete steps to move step by step to adjust our major institutions, our geopolitical institutions, our economic institutions, our religious institutions, to accommodate this new information that is going to be made available, so that we can not only respect the other civilization, but we can be respected by them, so that we can in fact engage in a mutually respectful and mutually beneficial relationship between our two cultures. This is what has to be governed by people such as Pope Leo XIV now, and the presidents of our country.
Well, let's hope that he will be the Pope of disclosure, or the disclosure Pope, as you put it. And we'll definitely have to have you back the minute we start hearing more from him. Thank you so much, Denny.
This
Dean.
is
It's really good to talk to
fascinating.
you. I appreciate this.
Let's hope he is the Pope of truth.
Thank you so much.
I mean, it's a
Anytime.
religious entity, a religious
reported a claim
establishment.
from a Pentagon whistleblower that
It's the
back during
Vatican.
World
Come on
War
now.
II, Pope
It's about
Pius
truth.
XII
Let it out.
tipped off the U.S. government about the recovery of a partially intact UFO that Benito Mussolini's
great.
Italian government had discovered. So will the new Pope open the vault
You
and
better,
share
bro.
the secrets below the Vatican? I'm joined now by the host of UFO Witness on Discovery Plus, Ben Hansen. Ben, it is so crazy to think that there is a nexus between the Vatican and UFOs, but that's something that was actually discussed in testimony before Congress.
Y'all, stay tuned. Part 2. This is fascinating. News Nation, shout out to you for being unbiased. And to this woman, this journalist who asks all the right questions. I didn't think that existed anymore in mainstream media. But here we are. Thank you, News Nation. Y'all, this has been a long video. It's an hour and 8 minutes at this point. Hour and 9 minutes. God bless you, my Ace Boon Coons. I will catch back up on this particular segment, the Vatican and what it knows. Peace.